Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Thursday. The weekend is drawing ever closer. Arsenal versus Burnley, of course, on Saturday at Turf Moor. Mikel Arteta will be speaking about that game at his pre-match press conference tomorrow at London Colney, 9 a.m. start for that one. So we should get the very latest from him in terms of team news, talking points ahead of the game, find out how Smith Rowe is, how Gabriel Jesus, Alexander Zinchenko, or we might do anyway. I say we'll find out when it comes to Mikel Arteta and revealing injury news. I think we've all kind of grown to understand how that works. So we probably won't find out, in fact. Having said that, I've completely changed my mind already. But yeah, we'll talk about that game a little bit later on in this show. Look at some of the decisions facing Mikel Arteta in terms of what he could do with his team selection, depending, of course, who is fit and available. Got some questions and comments from you guys as well. But I wanted to start today's show by talking about Gabriel Martinelli. Now, first of all, if you've seen it, there are reports in Spain that Barcelona have, quotes, turned to Gabriel Martinelli in their search for a new left winger, which just made me laugh. And I wanted to talk about it. I'm not talking about it in respect of this being true or of any chance of it happening, because it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I say that and immediately the wires start turning in my brain of somehow it actually happening and this being clipped up and shown over and over again across social media. But I'm absolutely convinced it's not going to happen. And that's kind of what I want to talk about. Not so much the links. They are just coming out from Spain. And we know how the Spanish press, especially the Catalan press, the press that covers Barcelona 24/7 operates. We saw it with the recent rubbish about Mikel Arteta when his name was linked. And then suddenly he'd been telling people at Arsenal that he wasn't going to sign a new contract and he was going to leave at the end of the season. Just complete rubbish. And that's how they operate. And so these sort of rumours that you're seeing now with Gabriel Martinelli, and I'm sure you've probably seen some of the headlines, is just the natural way of working over there and how it works and how Barcelona operate. But I think what's really interesting, what I kind of wanted to talk about, was the fact that the days of me waking up, seeing headlines like this and thinking, oh no, this isn't good, Barcelona wants so-and-so, are over. They don't worry me anymore. I thought that as I was reading them this morning, I just thought immediately, I'm not bothered by this. And I think that says an awful lot about where Arsenal are. I think it says a lot about where Barcelona are right now. But I think it also says an awful lot about where Arsenal are right now. For so long, Arsenal's fan base had to put up with seeing wonderful players come in, do well, and then a club like Barcelona suddenly circling, doing what they do, stirring up the hornet's nest, using the media to do it, and then coming in, unsettling players and taking them away for relatively cheap fees, to be honest, as well. But now that just hasn't, I don't get the feeling that could ever happen. And when you look at the project at Arsenal and what's gone on in the last few years and how things have turned around at Arsenal, it just absolutely speaks volume for where they are as a club right now and how they're viewed as a club right now. I have no worry about someone even as big as Barcelona, even with the sway that they have with South American players, which we know is a huge sway. I just have no fear of someone like Barcelona coming in and being able to take Arsenal's best talents away. And I just think that's a really, really great position to be in and a nice feeling to see these reports and just brush them off and think that's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen. Arsenal financially are so secure. They're in the best league in the world. They're in the, take the Saudi league out of it. Financially, they're in the strongest league in the world where, they can pretty much sign who they want and they can pay players what they want. Only Saudi really can do something a little bit different unless you're talking about, PSG potentially. Everyone wants to play in the Premier League, and Arsenal as a club right now is a club that everyone wants to be at. We saw that in the summer when Declan Rice chose to come to Arsenal over Manchester City. And so even if there is any resemblance of truth in these reports that Barcelona want Gabriel Martinelli, I have no fear that he would even entertain the prospect of wanting to go there yet. And I think that's just such a fantastic thing. And I think it just shows how far Arsenal have come, where they've come, and what sort of club it is right now. And I just think it's really great. And I've said the same thing. I said quite a similar thing when the Arteta stories started to come around again. It's just gone. I think it just shows everything has kind of gone full circle in football now. And the Premier League is where it's at. It's where players want to play. And when Arsenal can pretty confidently not be worried about Barcelona coming in and taking their squad, cherry picking the best players out their squad, which is something we've not been able to say really for the last 30 years. I think it's a fantastic thing. And Gavi, they couldn't afford him anyway. Just to, move all that out of the equation, just the simple finances of it all. Barcelona is such a mess financially. There's so much work to do at that club, huge amounts of work to do at that club, and they just couldn't afford him anyway. And so, yeah, I have no fear, and that's what you should be thinking right now. If you've seen these reports this morning, you've seen all the headlines this morning, and you're thinking, "Oh no, that's a little bit of a worry," you should just have that nice feeling of calmness when you're reading them, and that safety net, thinking, "No, what's not going to happen? We're going to keep him." Arsenal are a club on the up with a young squad who want to achieve things, who have all got long-term contracts, playing in the best league in the world, playing in the league in the world where financially they can meet their financial requirements. And that's how you should be feeling about it when it comes to Martinelli, when it comes to, William Saliba, Saka, anyone like that. It's just a really good place to be. And that was my overriding thought when I was reading those stories this morning. So I just wanted to give my thoughts on that. But let me know, of course, what you think in the comments below. Do you agree with what I said? Do you feel like that now? Do you think the days of fearing clubs coming poaching Arsenal's best players are now gone? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, turning attentions to Burnley at the weekend. Interesting game this. Very interesting to see what Mikel Arteta does in terms of his team selection. Obviously, it might the factors of the injuries could come into the equation. If Gabriel Jesus is fit, which remains to be seen. If he is fit, if he is available, then there is, of course, the option of playing Gabriel Jesus as a forward. I don't think, even if he's fit, given he's been out for a couple of weeks, I don't think he'd start anyway. So I think it will be Kai Havertz or Leandro Trossard. For me personally, I would say you go with what you saw against West Ham. I think if Tomiyasu's available, then I think you probably play Tomiyasu at left back. I think Kivior's playing really well at the moment. I thought he played well against West Ham. Obviously, he played very well when he came on against Liverpool. But if Tommy's fit, I still think you bring Tommy in at left back for that one. I know you're supposed to reward good performances, and I kind of agree with that in a way. But I think if you're playing a player out of position, even if he's played pretty well, I think you bring Tomiyasu in just because of how naturally good Tomiyasu is on that side. And I feel like Burnley away could be a good game for him anyway. So personally, I'd be going with Tomiyasu. But Trossard, I think that's going to be a really interesting one. What do you do with the centre forward? I think you keep it as is against West Ham. I think when you play as well as you did against West Ham, when you cause a team away from home as many problems as you did at the London Stadium, I just don't think you need to tinker too much. Obviously, you got the Champions League game on Wednesday night to take in to kind of factor into it all. Do you want to rest a few players for the Champions League? And this is something that Mikel's now going to have to really consider with the Champions League back. He hasn't had to worry about that for a while, even in the group stages. In a way, it wasn't something that was absolutely, top of the agenda. I think now, obviously, with the knockout stages, with the jeopardy that you've got on that you've got to factor in Champions League. Do you make any changes? I don't think he will for this one. I think he'd be fairly confident that he could play a team at 3:00 on Saturday, and then that team could still be fine to play on Wednesday night away in Portugal. So I don't think we'll see too many changes because of the Champions League. But Trossard, for me, I think you play as the 9. I don't think you need to make too many changes from that. And then you've obviously got Saka and Martinelli out wide. I think you probably stick with what we saw at West Ham in terms of the midfield. So you have Declan Rice there, and then you have Havertz and Odegaard, which would allow the triangle of Odegaard, Havertz and Trossard to rotate, to switch over, to move around, and hopefully pull the defenders apart as much as they did in the game against West Ham. And then at the back, as I said, you kind of stick with what you got, apart from maybe Tomiyasu coming in at left back. So that's my thoughts on it. Smith Rowe, we wait and see how Emil is. Like I reported earlier on the week, that ankle injury that he suffered in training last Thursday, ruling him out of the West Ham game. That was a blow for him. It was a blow for Arsenal as well, I think. But the good news is that it's not anything serious. Whether Burnley comes too soon, it probably might. But, it's not going to be a long-term thing. We're not looking at another couple of months out for Smith Rowe. If he doesn't make Burnley this weekend, then hopefully he should certainly be right for the Champions League game or the following week. It wasn't a serious injury. It was just a sort of 1-2 week issue while you wait for the swelling and the bruising on the ankle to go down after he sort of twisted it when he landed. evading that slide tackle last week. So those are, the team news wise, I think Smith Rowe you certainly listed as a doubt. Jesus and Zinchenko you certainly list as a doubt. Fabio Vieira looks like this one might come too soon for him. But of course, Simon and Collins at Standard, as I said yesterday, reporting that he could be back for the Porto first leg, which would be a big boost for Arsenal. 3 months out for Fabio Vieira. Yes, he's still been a bit hit and miss, but you hope he can come in. He's still a valuable member of the squad, and you hope he can come in and make a big impact between now and the end of the season if he does come back fit. So, yeah, interested to know your views on what you think Arsenal should do for the Burnley game. Please do let me know in the comments below. Who should start? Do you think Havertz should keep his place? Do you think Trossard should start as number 9? Would you play Gabriel Jesus if Jesus is fit? Who plays at left back? Tomiyasu or Kivior or anything like that? Anything you want me to discuss in tomorrow's show regarding the Burnley game, please do let me know in the comments below. Like I said, Mikel will be speaking tomorrow at 9 a.m. So we'll get the latest news from him. I'll do the video after the press conference. I'll wait and see until in terms of what Mikel's had to say before doing a video tomorrow. So you've got plenty of time to get your views in to be involved in that show. Okay, moving on to some of your questions and comments now. I have one from John here. So, Charles, given that Jesus can play in any position across the front line, I sometimes wonder why Mikel doesn't use him more on the right to give Saka some respite. Saka tired towards the end of last season, and along with Saliba's injury, it hurt us. In the run-in, it did, yeah, 100%. I think it's a really good option as well. I think now, especially with the way Havertz has been playing when he plays as a 9 and Trossard, I think it's something we can see more. And I think it's an option that Mikel should use more. We saw at the start of the season when Jesus plays out there, you want him to still play as central striker, but he can play the wing role very, very well because he's that good a footballer. He can play on the left, he can play on the right. He did it very well for Manchester City. It is definitely an option that I think maybe has been a little bit underused. And I think next season, when a new striker comes in, I think it's certainly something we will see more. And it will give Mikel, a real good option over there and allow him either to rest Saka or Martinelli. I think another player will come in, which will allow him to do that as well in terms of another wide man in the summer transfer window. So there will be options for Mikel to give Saka a little bit more rest, which will certainly be a good thing. There's no doubt about it. Look, he's very durable. He manages to play pretty much every single game, every single minute, but he's played so many minutes already at such a young age. When you compare and contrast it to the likes of Foden at Man City, a similar sort of age, how many minutes they have played, he has played. It's just Saka's just on a whole nother level in his career so far. And there is a worry over that in terms of how much you're loading into a player so early on in his career. So you want to be able to give him more options to give him a rest when needed. And I think Jesus is definitely a good option, as you say, John. But I do wonder as well when another player comes in the summer, if that will be a very good option to do that as well. So thank you very much for getting involved, John. Here's one from Corey. Says, I've got 2 topics to discuss. Another 10 out of 10 performance that goes under the radar. A lot of the time is when Theo Walcott scored that hat-trick against Newcastle at home. I think the score was 7-3 or something like that. Also a shout for RVP against Chelsea away. Getting a hat-trick. Yeah, unfortunately, I just can't. I struggle to praise RVP. But yeah, that was a very good performance from him. And the Walcott one was a great performance. Well, I captained him that day in my fantasy football team. I remember I had Giroud and I had Walcott as captain, and Walcott scored the hat-trick. Giroud came on in the second half and scored 2, and I think he got an assist as well. So I was very happy watching that in the pub. And then the second part, you say, which 3 signings would you make this upcoming summer, and which 3 sales would you make? Love the content. Thank you very much. Which 3 signings? I'm not going to list names because I just, I don't know. What I would certainly sign Pedro Neto. I would do all I could to sign Pedro Neto. I think he's perfect for Arsenal. I think he's at an age to really take his game to another level. There are a little bit of worries in terms of his injury record, but I think I would still take that sort of, if you want to call it a gamble. But I just think he's so tailor-made for Arsenal. I think he suits them perfectly, and he would provide Arsenal with so much excellent top-level cover. As I said in the previous answer, it would allow you could play Neto on the right, you could rest Saka. There would be very little drop off there because I think Neto is that good. And I think he's showing that this season. Now he's back to full fitness with Wolves. So he's certainly someone I would sign. I don't know in terms of the striker with a name. I honestly don't. I will just trust whoever Arsenal go for. I think obviously all the names doing the rounds are Tony, Osimhen, Xerxes doing rounds, isn't he? I just don't know. Like I said, I will just trust them. But I think they certainly need a striker. So in terms of 3 signings, I would sign a midfielder. I think Arsenal have to sign a midfielder. So whether that be a Zubamendi or someone like that, and then Nana. I don't know, but I would certainly sign a midfielder. I would sign a striker, and I would sign a winger, and that winger would definitely be Pedro Neto for me. But in terms of the 3 sales I'd make, I would sell Reece, I would sell Eddie, and I would sell Aaron Ramsdale. I mean, Ramsdale is just, just makes perfect sense. I think you've got to sell him. He'll want to move. Arsenal will have to then replace and get a second choice keeper in. But I would, it's not really tenable. I don't think having Aaron Ramsdale beyond the summer. I think this summer's the perfect time for Eddie to go. I think he needs it. It's his time to really sort of try and become first choice somewhere. So I'd sell him if the offer's there, and I think sell Reece as well, especially if you're signing someone like Pedro Neto. So those are the 3 sales I would make. I think Arsenal have made some pretty good money from those 3 sales. And then, you can invest that back into the squad. So there's my answer on that one, Corey. And here is one from Reese, who says, "Hi, Charles. Have you been keeping tabs on Charlie Patino's situation at Swansea at all? Seems to be struggling to break into a poor Championship team. Surely that can't be good for his potential path to the Arsenal first team. Seems like another failed loan for one of Arsenal's brightest prospects." I certainly don't think it's a failed loan. I mean, Charlie's already got about 25 Championship appearances this season. This is a 20-year-old kid playing, top-level Championship football, which is a really strong league. And he's already got about 25 odd appearances. Yes, not all of them are starts, but he's still getting a lot of minutes, a lot of game time. So I don't think it's a failed Championship loan at all. I didn't think it was last season. I thought he had a really good loan spell at Blackpool. You're not going to start all the games, unfortunately, as a 20-year-old kid. And they've had a change of manager as well, which I don't think helped him entirely. Obviously, if you're a lone player and you've got one, and you've been signed by one manager and then he leaves halfway through the season, gets replaced by another, and then that can always have a little bit of an impact. That manager sort of starts firefighting a little bit, and you obviously turn to more experienced players to try and do that. It's just a natural way of football in a way. It's easy to sort of take out the lone kid from a Premier League club if you're struggling and you're trying to survive, and you just turn to more experienced players who've been there and done that time and time again. But I don't think it's a failed loan by any means for Charlie. Look, in terms of his potential path to the Arsenal first team, I've said it before, I think Charlie's probably going to go this summer. I think they'll sell. I think they were very close to selling him last summer. They didn't. They decided to reassess and give him another loan spell. And then they were going to all sit down at the end of the season and come to a decision about where his future might lie. And I still kind of feel like they're probably going to make the decision to sell. I'm not sure that he'd sign a new contract at the moment anyway. I think it would take a lot of convincing him to sign a new contract. And I just feel like it's beginning. All the signs are suggesting that it's probably going to be time for Charlie to make a move, and Arsenal will protect themselves. They'll get a good sell-on clause. They'll get a buyback option, a matching right option, like they do with a lot of their young kids right now. And hopefully they'll get a decent amount of money for him, because you say it's been a failed loan, but he's played a lot of minutes in the Championship. He's done well. He maybe hasn't hit the heights that we were hoping, certainly after the bright start he made there, but I still think you could get a decent amount of money for him. Not huge amounts by any means. Like I said, you protect yourself with the deal you strike in terms of money you can get further down the line with Charlie Patino. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's a failed loan, Reece. I think he's still done pretty well there, and he's getting lots of minutes, and that is the main idea. All right, that's it from me, everyone. Thank you very much for your time, as always. I really do appreciate it. Like I said, Mikel Arteta's press conference tomorrow is at 9 a.m. at London Colney, so keep your eyes peeled for all the usual stuff from that, reacting to what the Arsenal manager has had to say. Inside Arsenal Extra Time is done and dusted. It's recorded. That will be going out later today at about 5 p.m. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Myself and James Bench sitting down, looking at what's remaining for Arsenal's season, predicting what sort of points total they are going to be getting at the end of the season, or what they might be getting at the end of the season. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But until then, until tomorrow, have a very good day, everyone. I will speak to you soon. Bye-bye.